Hi. I've gotten away from putting videos up for far too long, and I want to get back into doing this definitely more regularly. But God had shown me through my thoughts from ideas that He put into my head upon awakening one day, and later confirmation through a friend, that I need to say no more often. I need to be aware of myself and be able to say no to things that, or you could say demands, that don't help me that much and may not actually help another person as well. But God also mentioned to me that I am to control myself a little bit better, to say no to myself. So I want to ask you whether saying no has been a problem for you. I think for most of you it's not a problem, but for me, through most of my life, all of us are presented challenges, but for me, it's oftentimes saying no. I'm a bit too nice in the past, and would often do things for other people, even though, or just basically just kind of like giving in to them, to their demands, and not saying no. And yes, I admit that it is a weakness, and I've repented for it. And I hope that God will help me, give me the strength and the boldness to actually say no more often, not only to myself, but to other people. And what I mean by myself is that I recognize now that I haven't been saying no to temptations I'm presented with. And it could be simply dessert, sugar, it could be almost anything. But one thing God wanted to show me is that, I've actually not built up this inner strength inside, this spiritual strength that comes from saying no. And this means that you would be able to say no to yourself when you are presented with something in front of you that you're tempted to do, or tempted to eat, or anything. That it could be almost anything. I don't want to get into all the details, but it could be almost anything that's in your life that inside it would not be good for you to keep on doing or do regularly, or even, for instance, like if you have sensitivity to bread, should you just give in this one time and eat the bread? There's one part of yourself that says that it's not good. And why does another part tell you to eat it? That is the devil. That's basically, you could say, the physical demon inside of you that puts this desire in your heart to eat the thing. Now, if we don't build up that strength by saying no to ourselves occasionally, we gradually lose the strength to say no. And so that power to say no becomes weaker and weaker and weaker. So finally, you have a hard time saying no to almost anything, even though you know it's bad for you. It could be, any regular temptation that you've had in your own life, or that you hear about in people's lives. For some people it's gambling, for some people it's smoking, drinking, junk food. Could be online pornography, for instance, for some people. It could be, taking marijuana, for instance. Anyway, we need to build up that inner strength, and that inner strength comes from our spirit. And that spirit is built up by the things of God. It's built up by God's power, by God's life that He bestows you when you ask and when you desire for it. Now, when we cannot say no to other people, it's very similar to not being able to say no to yourself. So other people present demands that they want you to help them with something, perhaps money. But if we keep giving all our money away without discernment, what happens is that our money goes away. The other person may not actually become richer from it, but became dependent on your own money, on your money, to his or her detriment. So I want to say that we have to cultivate the ability and the power in the Spirit to say no. Say no, no, no. Now, we have to have and build up that discernment to know when we should not say no, when we are to say yes. But it should come from your spirit, and that spirit should be informed by the presence of God within you. Hopefully we can talk more about the presence of God, but the presence of God comes when we are at peace, when we are more at peace, and we rest in the assurances that God has for us. When we rest in the future promises that He has for us, when we rest in the peace of the present circumstance that we're in right now, when we're not worried, when we give our problems to God, when we give our problems to Jesus and trust Him to take care of it. When we do this more and more often, we build up this strength inside our spirit. And this strength gives us the power to determine the best course of action for our lives, or the best courses of action for our lives. When we give in to saying yes all the time, even though taking a course of action or deciding that you go in one direction or you do this one thing, it doesn't help you. Your life doesn't make a consistent movement forward, and it doesn't continually improve. God intends that your life continually improve. So I just want to give you this quick message, and hopefully you can glean some insight, some practical inspiration that you can use in your own life. And hopefully this will make your life a little bit better. Thank you for listening.